بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Inshallah, the best with which we can start our program are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be recited to us by our brother Sayyid Ahmed al-Musawi. Let's welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا قوم إنما هذه الحياة الدنيا متاع وإن الآخرة هي دار القرار. من عمل سيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها ومن عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فأولئك يدخلون الجنة يرزقون فيها بغير حساب. يا قوم إنما هذه الحياة الدنيا متاع يا قوم إنما هذه الحياة الدنيا متاع وإن الآخرة هي دار القرار. من عمل سيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها ومن عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فأولئك أولئك يدخلون الجنة يرزقون فيها بغير حساب ويا قوم ما لي أدعوكم إلى النجاة وتدعونني إلى النار تدعونني لأكفر بالله وأشرك به ما ليس لي به علم وأنا أدعوكم إلى العزيز الغفار لا جرم أن ما تدعونني إليه ليس له دعوة في الدنيا ولا في الآخرة وأن مردنا إلى الله وأن المسرفين هم أصحاب النار فستذكرون ما أقول لكم وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد صدق الله العلي العظيم رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة قبلها الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Sayyid Ahmed, for this beautiful recitation. Let's give him another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The late Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Sayyid al-Hakim wrote, had it not been for the Shia's insistence on reviving the tragedy of Karbala and displaying the emotional aspects of the tragedy's impact would have lessened over time. People would have forgotten it just like they forgot all other historical events. Of those credited with establishing and hallmarking this tradition of mourning for Imam al-Hussein was Lady al-Baneen, the wife of Imam Ali alayhi salam and the mother of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Through her expression and mourning and being at the side of Lady Zainab in her gatherings of lamentation for Imam al-Hussein, she represented a bereaved mother whose sorrow could soften the coldest of hearts. Dear brothers and sisters, I welcome you to tonight's Majlis al-Hujjah program. But before we start, I'd like to remind you of a couple things. First of all, this Saturday, the Mainstay Foundation will be hosting its Husseini Expressions competition. Husseini Expressions is open to ages 5 to 24. If you or anyone you know would like to express their sorrow for the tragedy of Imam Hussein through art or poetry or any other means, they can register at www.muharram.live/HE. The deadline to register is 11:59 p.m. on August 4th, and the competition will be on August 6th, inshallah. Of course, none of this is possible without the support of our generous donors. Again, the Mainstay Foundation is holding 6 different programs in addition to the other programs that we're holding as well. And the estimated cost for all that we're doing for Muharram rounds up to about $100,000. If you would like to pitch in and support this effort, you can sponsor a night at one of our programs. A sponsorship is $1,000, and it goes a long way in helping us put together these programs. If you would like to give, you can see one of the volunteers at the table in the back, or go to www.mainstay.us/give. Also, I'd like to remind everyone who's present here in the hall and everyone who's watching online who lives in the state of Michigan that tomorrow, August 2nd, is a primary election. So if you can, please go out and vote and make your voice heard. Now, let's welcome the words of wisdom and a lecture by Sayyid Haidar, Bahrelelom. Let's welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك سيدي ومولاي يا حبيب الله وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين المعصومين صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام على المرمل بالدماء السلام على غريب الغرباء السلام على شهيد الشهداء السلام على ساكني كربلاء
السلام على من بكته السماء السلام على غريب كربلاء السلام على المظلوم في عاشوراء السلام على شهيد كربلاء. Dear brothers and sisters, we gather here tonight to mourn Imam Hussein, the stranger in the land of Karbala, the martyr on the day of Muharram. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he went to Karbala on the 10th day of Muharram, where the battlefield and the massacre took place, dear brothers and sisters, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he was out there in the battlefield. His own family, his companions, one after the other, were martyred, were killed. As he was left alone in the battlefield, Imam Hussein alayhi salam was massacred and killed in the battlefield of Karbala. The women and the children were left all alone, all alone, all alone. They say one of his daughters, as she was running in the field away from the enemies of Allah, in the heat of the sun, the tents are burning around them. They have no place to go. The enemies of Allah, mounted on their horses, running after them. You see the young girls going around, walking around, running away from those men. As one of them would lean over, he would grab the young girl. The other tries to steal whatever earrings she has. The other tries to hit her. The fourth tries to beat her. They say the young ladies, the women and the children were running in the fields of Karbala. Hamid ibn Muslim, one of those who narrated what happened in Karbala, he was with the camp of Yazid la'natullahi alayh. But Hamid, they say, he was not engaged in the battlefield. His job was to narrate and write what is happening in the camp of Yazid. But he started seeing what is happening to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He narrates and he says, as I was mounted on my horse, looking at the tents being burned, the fire scorching through the hot sun, these young kids were running around in the field, yelling, screaming, Aba ya Hussein, Akhi ya Ali, Am Abbas. Each woman would call for her massacred husband. Each young child would call for their father. No one is to be heard. He said, as I was standing there, I was obviously not engaged in the battlefield. I see a young girl. She would stand right by my horse, as if she's hiding hiding from the sun, from the heat. Bewildered, she doesn't know where to go. She could not bear the heat, the sun, the fire. They say, he says, I saw her. She's in the shade, just standing there. And then she looked up, she goes, Ya Hada. Oh, he looked back at her. He said, what are you doing here? She said, I have nowhere to go. I have no place to go. He goes, my heart broke down for her. I looked at her. I said, here, let me take you, get you some water. They say, Hamid had some water on him. He wanted to give this daughter, this young girl, some of his water. She looked at him. She was so thirsty, dear brothers and sisters. She looked at Hamid and said, I want to ask you, would you answer my question first before taking the water? He said, go ahead, ask me. What question do you have? She said, my father is Imam Hussein. I want to ask you a question. Before you guys killed my father, did you give him water or not? She was thirsty. Hamid looked at her. He goes, Bunayya, daughter, we did not give him water. They say she had the water in her hand. The moment she heard that, she let go of the water. She goes, I will not drink water since my father was massacred, thirsty on the land of Karbala. Then she told him, can you take me to the Ghari, take me to Najaf, take me to where Imam Ali was buried. He goes, daughter, it's far away. She said, show me the direction, let me just call. Abba, grandfather Ali, where are you? In the moments like these, we need you. Do you see what they did to my father Hussein? يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. والصلاة والسلام على حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Dear respected sisters, dear respected brothers, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I greatly appreciate your presence tonight with us, and I want to start this talk and presentation with a verse from the Holy Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأن ليس للإنسان إلا ما سعى وأن ليس للإنسان إلا ما سعى وأن سعيه سوف يرى صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. I want to recap what we have been talking about, because as we build in these nights, we're trying to drive and build a mindset as we connect ourselves, and it's an attempt. We may succeed, we may fail, but we'll try. The I, succeed myself, connect myself, yourself, with our 12th holy Imam, salamullahi ta'ala alayh. Why is it important? Dear brothers and sisters, it's important to come to terms with who we are. We sometimes get engaged in acts and habits that were developed as matter of culture. The meaning of these acts lose its essence and soul because we don't understand them well. One of the most important act is, and belief, is our belief in our 12th holy Imam, salamullahi ta'ala alayh. The 12th holy Imam, Sahib al-Asr wa zaman, who is 1,188 years old. I am, you are, believers in this individual, in this person, in this Imam. We ought to be individuals that we pray every day, supplicate. It's part of our routine in the morning to recite Dua al-Ahd, the covenant. To whom? To this man, to this person who is 1,188 years of age. You and I need to connect with him. You and I need to build a relationship with him. That's what we should do. But if we look at ourselves, we look at the way we behave, the way we think, and the way we feel, how often is he in our minds? How often is he engaged in our lives? How often is he communicating to us and we're communicating to him? If I don't know someone, how many of us, when we see each other, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum, then we say, how are you? How much do we mean? How meaningful is how are you? How much do I really care about you, or you to ask? Do I really want to know how are you doing? Or is it just a matter of routine? We got used to saying, how are you? I really don't care. Don't tell me your life story. Just salam, I'm doing fine with Assalamu alaikum. Do we care about each other to a point where I want to know what's paining you, how you're doing, what's going on with your life? See, if we care for one another to build a bond, I'll give you an example. Take 5 people around you who you deem as close people. List them, person A, B, C, D, and E. Then ask yourself, get a notebook and write down how much and what do you know about them. What do they do? How do they live? Who are their family members? List things that you know about these close people. And you will see how you as an individual bond with others. Now, our bonding with the individuals that are supposed to be our saviors and intercessors, these people who will intercede for us on the day of judgment. When what does intercession mean? I am at a point where I have failed, or I am at a point where I need so much help, I'm seeking someone's help. If I seek someone's help, I need to be recognized by him or her. I need to know them, they need to know me. But if there's no bond, if there's no relationship, what happens? There's no recognition, therefore there's no intercession. Building this relationship is essential to our growth and our being. Therefore, we started talking about a very important topic. As we started the nights, it's about building your future self. Why did I pick this topic? It sounds exciting, it sounds interesting. But most important, if we look closely, dear brothers and sisters, at a lot of the text, وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. Man will only have what he or she goes after. He or she tries to earn. So there is a relationship. The Quran is obvious about it and clearly explaining that I will only get what I go after. So it's a proactive movement. It describes the self, and the most important thing that you can spend your lifetime exploring and understanding is yourself. The more you deepen the understanding of the self, the more successful you are. A key point is how being proactive helps build the person of the future. And this topic, it's so important. And when I kept on searching and researching furthermore, I realized something very interesting. What Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in their lives did to project this kind of buildup of the human self. What do I mean by that? It is narrated, لما كان مولد الحسين بن علي عليهما السلام. When he was born, the birth of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, they say, النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم entered the house. And one of those who were with Lady Fatima alayhi salam helped her in her birth. She had Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in her arm. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, seeing his grandson in her arm, he said, "Give him to me." He took Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He held him. He kissed his forehead. طأطأ عليه برأسه. Then he leaned over. قبل مقلتيه وخديه. Kissed his cheeks. But then وبكى طويلا. Then he started tearing. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, holding his newborn, he started tearing. فلما أفاق قال قتل الله قوما يقتلونك. May Allah kill the individuals that will kill you. Look, he's a newborn. The first thing Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is doing what? What was the first message the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told this newborn? The state of the future self, what will happen to him. When he was 1 year old, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam descended on him angels. He describes them as crying angels. نشروا أجنحتهم. They opened their wings and they were saying, Ya Muhammad, سينزل بولدك. What will happen to your son al-Hussein ibn Fatima? He will be given such reward, and he will be given such reward no one in the east or the west have given. And Allah Azza wa Jal and all the angels in the heavens give you the greetings, and they mourn you to your son Hussein. At 2 years old, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam narrates to his young child, Al-Hussein, as Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi gets on the minbar in Medina, and he has Al-Hassan on one lap, Al-Hussein on the other, and he explains to the people, he wants Al-Hussein to hear what's going to happen to him. At different times, dear brothers and sisters, we see the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam explaining to his young son, young child, young grandson, what shall happen to him in the years to come. Why? What is the purpose? We see that Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they shape the minds of their youth to train them what to expect in the future. This, dear brothers and sisters, give us a way to think as we shape the future of our own children. And a way for our children to how to listen to their parents. I know there is, at times we find a form of disengagement between the parents and the children. The parents trying to be open-minded and say, we want to help our children be free in choosing their own life, making their own choices, having their own responsibility. Some go to the extreme. And some, it try to shape every bit of their lives. We have two extremes. Have nothing to do with their growth, have every control to do with their growth. See, as we have been talking in the past few nights, one of the wonders of the human self is the ability to have this ability of perspection. This perspection is seeing all the options, many of the options that may come my way, and owning my own choices. And the more I try to shape my future, see it with clarity, the more I can drive my future self. I imagine where I want to be, and I drive where I want to become. We talked about the three levels of knowledge: the what, the how, and the why. In any act, in any event you carry, you can explain the what by describing what happened, how it happened, but we talked about the most important part of the event is why did it happen? The why in our lives should explain so much of what we do. And the more conscious and clear you are about choosing your purpose and goals of your actions, the how begins to take care of itself. Without conscious purpose, the how becomes so conflicted and chaotic. And we talked about the reason doing anything is either an approach or avoid. You're either approaching something, you want it to happen, or avoiding something, you do not want it to happen. We covered the 80-20 rule, that most people, 80% of the people, are driven by fear or avoidance, trying not to have something, avoid something. 20% are driven by approach or courage. They want something, they go after something to make it happen. And fear is the biggest obstacle to making things happen. We also talked about the importance and the view of your future self becoming the compass that draws you forward. Drawing yourself forward, moving yourself forward by being driven by purpose is key. Because the more you see your future, the more your decision making becomes wiser. There's a reason why you decide what you decide today. Many of us, when we grow, and it's okay to face this, we grow not knowing what's next. We let events shape us and move us. We're very reactive. We don't drive the events. We don't create our events. We don't shape our events. We let things happen. That's a sign of weakness. What are you about to do? I don't know. I'll see what happens. No, I will make it happen. Do you see the energy around people that know what they're doing? They know what they want to do. They go after it. Allah Azza wa Jal, it promises you, when you want something so badly, you go after it. You work hard, day in, day out, you shall be granted it, whether good or bad. Sometimes we want something bad for us. We go after it, but this is what we want. Allah will hand it to us. Why? It's a test you chose. And if you want something so bad and you work so hard for it, you'll be granted it. Good or bad, it's a choice you made. But seeing your future and making it happen is part of your success. And it is not the past, but the future that drives a person's actions and behaviors. And the more you become connected to your future self, you can appreciate and embrace your current present. It's a state of mind. A lot of us don't live it and don't feel it. They don't see that bliss. If I know what I want, I see myself in the coming 10 years, and I go after it, I shape it, my current present, I'm at peace with myself. Why? You'll see, man, this guy, this woman, she is so confident. She knows what she wants. Have you seen confidence in a person? A believer, one of the most beautiful things about a believer is his and her confidence. Why? They have charted a pathway for themselves. With clarity, they know exactly what they want to happen. Do you know what you want to happen to you? But you cannot know what you want to happen to you if you don't have depth in the presence. What do I mean by that? See, many of us really shape our movements in the now based on very little information. When I ask you the why, you don't have a deep understanding, a deep explanation for the why. Your why is very fragile, very superficial. Most of the whys, you're answering an immediate short-term desire. Either because it's easy, because it's comfortable, it's fun. Everyone is doing it. I don't want to be alone. You take the easy way out. The why, when it's so shallow, it creates a shallow present. A shallow present only shapes an extremely shallower future. The less you know your whys now, the more you'll be lost in your future. You know, one of the things that we have so powerful in our faith, when Allah expects you as a young man and a young woman to become responsible for your decisions. In today's culture, the age of maturity is 18 years of age. So we let the young men and women do whatever they want until maybe they get to college, and then we expect them to be serious about their lives. But Islamically, Allah Azza wa Jalla says no. You are responsible as a young man and as a young woman when you reach the age of puberty, when you become responsible for your prayers. If God sees you as a responsible individual and makes you, obligates you for your prayers at that age, it means what? Your decisions are important at that age. Your decisions at that age becomes important. Now, if we train our young men and women to start thinking and holding them responsible for their actions and the whys in their actions, you will see that they will be trained to make better decisions at a younger age, producing better results at also a younger age. The problem is, and I see this often, There's a gap between generations. There is no continuous connection and education, mentorship and relationship. The adults, they're always looking at the now. The young kids start looking at the now. It becomes a culture of just execution of the now. When our faith teaches us to look at Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, the Imam of the time and the time of his appearance. Meaning what? Plan your future self to be part of a movement with an Imam of the time. Let me ask you, the Imam of the time, and to be part of a movement, don't you have to have the depth of understanding the elements of this movement? What are the elements of the movement of Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman alayhi salam? The Quran, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam's teachings, what does that mean? Let's not kid ourselves and think just because I read a chapter or two, or a line or two, attended a lecture or two, that I became someone who is accepted by Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, or someone at that level to carry that message. It requires depth, a vertical depth in knowledge, in knowing. When do we do that? How do we do that? Where do we do that? Today, dear brothers and sisters, you look at when you go to colleges and universities, most of the learning and the teaching is shaped by liberal thinking. What's liberal thinking? It's based on a few principles that if we look into these principles, we have a serious conflict. There is a philosophical difference between how a Muslim mind should be thinking and a liberal mind should be thinking. Yes, there are areas they may meet together, but at its core, are you a liberal or are you a conservative? Why do I point this? Because today when I go to the outside world, whether I like it or not, through the media, social media, the regular media, in my universities and colleges, through the education, when I take the social sciences, when I look at the movements out there, they're either fueled by liberal principles or conservative principles. And I, as a Muslim, as a believer, I am thrusted in the middle to either go right or left. Yet, my faith as a Shia Muslim, I am not a leftist or to the right. But because the issues are shaped by the right and left, what am I supposed to do? I'm put on the spot and asked, what position do you take on this issue, whatever the issue is? But what are the options for me? They present the option of the right or the left. What I fall into, what many of us may fall into, because we do not have depth in discussions and arguments and the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt and the Holy Quran, we do not have a formation of our own opinion and positions. What do we end up doing? Because we're under pressure, either right or left, we are forced to choose something and to adhere something that we don't really believe in. And you see this all the time. There are many different issues that are out there today. Pick and choose. Most of them, 90% of them. It's so sad. Part of it is interesting to see how the minds are working, but it is so sad. But also exciting. Why is it exciting? Because I love the energy of our youth, young adults, how they want to engage in discussions. But the problem is, when you look at the positions they take, it is so disconnected from the faith. Why? Again, because the positions that are given to them, either right or left, and maybe some centrist in the middle. But that's not your position as a person who believes in the faith and is connected to Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman alayhi salam. So you're telling me you are forcing me into a position? No. I'm giving you a choice. The choice is we have Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we have the Holy Quran that gave us an outlook, a universal outlook to shape our mind, and a choice to make when we read in depth on our philosophical views and where we stand on issues, but it's not black and white. It's not that simple. But we're forced to make it either A or B. Many issues, I'm asked, where do we stand? Why don't we make a point? Why don't we become vocal? This statement, why don't we become vocal? Why don't we talk about, become political? Why don't we? Ahlul Bayt salamullahi ta'ala alayhim, dear brothers and sisters, if you look at their history, one of the things they teach us and learn this, it is not about being loud. It is not about being vocal. No, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, it wasn't about social justice. See, the problem that I see, something happens in the world outside, and I see all my friends tweeting, Instagramming, Facebooking, doing all this stuff, whatever, Snapchatting, TikToking, whatever is out there today, and taking a position, a stand on issue. Oh, and the thing that really boggles me when they say, the faith says, as a Shia Muslim, no. Study the issue. These micro issues that come up every now and then, and I want to engage. Why do I have to engage? I have to say something. Why do you have to say something? I need to post something. Why? Dear brothers and sisters, do me a favor. You shouldn't be so insecure about yourself that you find yourself through the number of likes others click on to say you're cool. That's insecurity. That's weakness. As a matter of fact, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam taught us as followers of their faith. They are leaders. They are our leaders. Wisdom is important, and silence is key. Silence is key. Why? Amir al-Mu'min, the commander of the faithful, salamullahi ta'ala alayh, says, your words are your prisoners. You speak them, you're their prisoner. Today's world, anything you say, anything you talk about, it's right there. Clicks, and it's out there. Give yourself some time to shape your opinion. When you're at 14, 15, 16, 18, you're still, unfortunately, you don't have depth in understanding world politics, global issues. So I wish you do. I wish we have more discussions. We engage in more discussions. We talk in depth about these issues. We should, but people don't. And if they do, they talk in a superficial way. Some, of course, have some depth. But a lot of times, you see the discussion becomes very superficial. There is no depth. So give yourself time to create the depth. And understand, I want you to understand something very important. When you talk, why is it you're talking? Is it because you want to influence and change? Or is it because you're insecure about yourself and you want to fit in somewhere? If you feel that you're influential and you want to impact and change, then you have to ask yourself, do I have depth in talking about what I'm talking about? Meaning what? What is depth? To just state, I think we should do this way. Hold on. Why do you think? Is it because your thoughts that you developed are based on an understanding from the Holy Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? Is it rooted somewhere there, or is it just because you think it's right? It makes sense. It's a feeling you have. Most of our thoughts, dear brothers and sisters, they come from feelings, not from a good, developed argument based on a standard, a philosophical standard, based on a well-found standard, whether Quranically, religiously, if from the narratives, if from a discussion that can drive a universal outlook. It's just a feeling. And today, dear brothers and sisters, is dangerous, dear brothers and sisters. Why? These things have impact, implications. They have implications. But the more you are connected to your future self, that future self, what is it? How does it look like? You know what I want you to ask yourself? How intelligent is that future self? How intelligent? And what I mean intelligent is what? What kind of knowledge does that future self have? What kind of depth? What kind of depth? See, seeing your current life through the eyes of your future self, you see new opportunities otherwise you haven't seen. Why? I want to be someone who gets a degree, a PhD, for example, in law, let's say. If this becomes, let me ask you, how many of you have the ambition to be a Supreme Court justice? One of 9 individuals. How many of you actually thought of that? Excellent. Beautiful. Now, when you dream to be one of those justices, do you know what it means? Do you know how you go about it? Do you know the kind of reading you have? Do you know how important your time is? You know how you should be so careful posting anything, because one day you'll be sitting in front of Congress being asked questions. So now I see my future self being in a position that will require me to answer certain questions. So I have to now be careful what I say, where I post things, how I post things, because my future is being shaped by everything I do today. And that is very forward thinking. A conversation with your future self. Take a step backward and just relax for a second. If your future self 20 years from now had a conversation with you, what would you say? What would you say to your future self? That future self of yours is talking back to you. Will it say, man, you wasted your time? What the heck? What were you doing? Would it guide you forward? See, in 1188, 1,188 years of age, he teaches us how to talk. He teaches us how to create a habit in our minds. He tells us, look forward with me to build a community based on fairness and justice. Do you really want to build a community? Do you want to be with the Imam alayhi salam or not? Your future self is talking to you. You want to be with him? You want to be with your Imam? You want to grow yourself to be truly a believer that helps in making this happen? You need to connect with him. You need to create habits. You need to do things. You need to read things. You need to act a certain way. It's all about making sure your attention is focused on what you want to establish and achieve. See, by faith you can move mountains. I mean mountains. You can put a person in different places. You can make millions. You can heal people. But you need to believe in yourself and what you can do. The more you're able to think forward, the more you're able to capture the image of the future, you and I can shape the now better. al-Baneen Salamullahi ta'ala alayha. Did she know what is going to happen in Karbala or not? Imam Ali alayhi salam told her every detail. al-Baneen alayhi salam, did she know what will happen to Abbas alayhi salam or not? Imam Ali alayhi salam gave her every single detail. The future of her children, dear brothers and sisters, it wasn't, to some of us, we see the future of our children, we know they're going to be massacred in a battlefield alone with their families looking at them. al-Baneen alayhi salam, the mother, what was she doing? Was she shying away from teaching her children to support their brother? No, she was training al-Abbas. She was encouraging al-Abbas. Al-Abbas alayhi salam, the way he was raised, his mind was shaped by his mother to look and see his future self in assisting and helping in the battlefield of Karbala. Assisting who? No one other than Hussein alayhi salam. Taking care of whom? Zainab, the family, the children. The mother, al-Baneen Salamullahi ta'ala alayha, was clear in what she was trying to do with her children. Shape their minds to see their future, their ultimate potential in serving in that battlefield. But she saw that with certainty and clarity. Dear brothers and sisters, it was very hard, therefore, for al-Baneen alayha salam, as she was waiting in Medina. They say, al-Baneen salamullahi ta'ala alayha, she was amongst those who were gathered in the city of Medina. Bishr ibn Hadlam came into Medina. They say Bishr entered Medina. Bishr started calling, أهل يثرب لا مقام لكم بها. Yathrib is the name of Medina, the city of Rasulullah. يا أهل يثرب لا مقام لكم بها. He was calling the people of Medina. There is no longer time for you to stay. Come and gather. قتل الحسين فأدمعي مدرارا. Hussein alayhi salam was massacred in Karbala, and therefore my tears are flowing. الجسم منه بكربلاء مدرج. The body of his trenched in the battlefield of Karbala with his blood. والرأس منه على القناة يدار. and the head was on the spears, being taken around from city to city. Bishr was entering Medina, reciting the verses. They say then Bishr stood by the grave of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alih. They say as Bishr waited for the people to gather, he spotted a woman. She had a child carrying with her. She came closer and closer. People were making way for her as she came to Bishr and said, Ya Bishr, عندك علم بالحسين عليه السلام. Do you have any news from Hussein alayhi salam? Bishr looked at her and said, yes, I do. Man anti, who are you? Who are you asking about Hussein alayhi salam? قالت يا بشر, I am البنين. I am the mother of Abbas. قال لها يا البنين, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك جعفر. May Allah reward you for your son Ja'far. She said, Ya Bishr, I have not asked you about Ja'far. I've asked you about Al-Hussein. Tell me about my son Hussein. He said, عظم الله لك الأجر يا البنين بولدك عبد الله. May Allah reward you for your son Abdullah. She said, Ya Bishr, I have not asked about Abdullah. I've asked about son Hussein. Ya al-Banin, may Allah reward you for your son On. Ya Bishr, do you see me asking about my son On? Tell me about Al-Hussein. Then he said, Ya al-Banin, may Allah reward you for Abil Fadl al-Abbas. They say when al-Banin heard that, she put her hands on her waist and said, Ya Bishr, لقد قطعتني يا قلبي. You torn my heart apart. I asked you about Al-Hussein and you're telling me about my children. عند ذلك قال بشر يا البنين, may Allah reward you for the martyrdom of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. And as Bishr was saying that, al-Banin said, wa walada wa Husseina, wa walada وحسينا. بالأمس كانوا معي واليوم قد رحلوا وخلفوا في سويد القلب نيرانا. نذر علي لئن عادوا وإن رجعوا لأزرعن طريق الطف ريحانا. اللهم بحق الحسين اغفر لنا وارحمنا واستر علينا يا رب وتقبل منا هذا القليل. Accept the little we are offering in these nights, Ya Allah, and let us offer the blessings of recitation of these majalis to our late deceased ones, and let us offer the blessings of Surah Al-Fatiha to their souls after As-Salat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad 3 times with the loudest of your voices. Allah.